So we're just doing a lot of things. It's not like a regular music class, so I don't teach instruments and things like that. So we learn about different things.
Maybe in June?
We're now working on country music.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Huh? No, you need to talk.
Oh.
Yes. So we're actually doing this assignment called the Hall of Fame. So we're inducting people into the Country Music Hall of Fame who never got to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame because for whatever reason. So, yeah.
Okay, listen to the chair.
I think the kids would be. I think the things that come up with are exciting, and I was like, I would love to do this, but probably I wouldn't have loved to do it because it was work. Yeah.
Let me know when you do. I'll be watching.
All righty, it is 5:32, and I am going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Syracuse Public Art Commission meeting. Thank you for our guests for attending. Welcome. I'd like to go around and introduce each commissioner, or they can introduce themselves, but first I'd like to say we have a new commissioner, Sophia, to my right. Do you want to just, let's clap for her. Yeah, thank you for your public service.
Thank you.
Do you want to just say a few words about yourself and where you come from?
Yeah, so I'm a recent graduate of the SU School of Architecture in 2024, and I'm an arts fellow at CNY Arts. I'm also an independent artist. I have a studio and I live at the Gear Factory, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm excited to be serving, and I'm very involved in the community. I work with La Casita, amongst a few other community groups, so I'm excited to be representing the interests of the West Side.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Blondine Young, and I'm the executive director and founder of Black, which is the Black Latino Asian Artists Coalition, a production company here in Syracuse, and I'm also on the CNY Pride Board.
I'm Joanna Robity. I'm the director of the Tyler Art Gallery at SUNY Oswego, and I'm an artist.
My name is Tina Zagiva. I'm the chair. I am a local artist. I also I'm the director of Constituent Support Services for Assemblymember Hunter. I've worked extensively in all the communities in Syracuse, and I live in the Near West Side. So.
Hello. My name is Maggie Levis. I'm the Director of Operations for a retail organization based in Syracuse. I've been working in operations, arts-adjacent operations for about 15 years in the community, and that's it.
I'm Emmanuel Carter, and I'm with the Department of Landscape Architecture at SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry.
Hi, my name's Anne Kofor. I'm the art coordinator for the City of Syracuse.
All right. So the first thing, before we go on to our minutes, I just want to talk briefly about the agenda structure. I've changed it a little bit. I've added times on here. I'm hoping this will help to keep our meetings within an hour or less and on point so that we don't have too many side conversations that get away from what we really need to focus on. So I'm asking that if everybody could keep those side conversations to a minimum unless they are pertinent to the content that we're speaking about. All right, so minutes. I've been looking at the minutes, and I've kind of, my experience writing minutes, you typically want it to have a summary of that discussion with any action items. So we're going to reformat our minutes so that they're a little bit clearer to navigate through. It's just not so much like a he said, she said type of thing, because we have the live stream for that, but more or less like the commission discussed the definition of temporary. This is what's going to happen as a result. And if there was any votes, then we have to record that. We have to do the motion, the second, and all that good stuff, per Robert's rules. So we're going to change it up a little bit and try to make them more concise. So with that, we have minutes from the previous meeting that we need to review and approve. So I'm going to give everybody a couple seconds to look those over. Can I get a motion? Or does anybody have any comments? A motion to approve? Do I have a second? Savannah seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so the next part is, again, I'm changing it up a little bit. I'm trying to make sure that we're on top of our action items that we identify each meeting, and that we are moving through our, what we need to do in terms of a commission. We have a master plan, and some of us have been trying to work towards accomplishing some things in that. But, this is hopefully a way we can keep track of these things. So the first item on here, it says ID1 SPAC letter of support. Last meeting, I had presented a letter of support to the commission for approval. It was approved. My only update on this is I've sent it to the mayor's office, and I'm waiting for word on where it is after that. Emmanuel is on the ID1 group with Joe Driscoll. I'm not sure what it's called, but Emmanuel's really been the one spearheading 81, so I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to this brief update, other than we've submitted the letter of support.
Yeah, and I, just so that everybody knows that in our last discussions, or actually over the last several discussions with state DOT, they made it clear to us that to the extent that the city wants to have trees in the boulevard and public art in the boulevard, that the weight is on the city to pay for that. If we can help find other money for that we should. But the weight is on us. They'll make the space. We have to come up with money for the trees and the art.
For the trees and the art?
And the art.
Okay.
So I think, I'm not sure, Ann, I think I saw a note that the DOT folks were going to schedule another follow-up meeting in January. Now, is that with city, or is that, who is that with?
I don't know, I haven't heard from them.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So we should probably circle back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then just another announcement. We're good with 81? Good? Okay. Another announcement. We need to make sure that everyone's giving their headshots and bios to Ann. If you need help with your headshot, I believe Benny said he was going to bring his camera this meeting, but unfortunately he's out sick. So if you need a nice professional headshot, contact Benny or contact Ann and we can figure this out. But we want to make sure that all the commissioners are up on the website and everyone can see who we are, and we have a brief description of our bios. And then I think the next one is Ann. Ann, you're up. Coordinator briefing, updates, and action items.
Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot, and I did send it out, so I don't know whether anybody read it or had questions about what I had done or the beginning slightly different. Tina and Benny wanted to divide it up into two sections, one to be a progress report and then the other to be initiatives that are being worked on in Parks and Rec. So the first part is things that we discussed at the last meeting. First one, was regarding the definition of temporary art. The second one, special events, which I found out if you do hold an event in parks, you have to pay a fee.
Is that if it is a park-sponsored event, though?
No, if parks are running it, then it's free.
So
If parks are not running it,
Right.
if anybody wants to run an event, yeah.
Right, but I think what we're trying to figure out is if the LIPE event that is a city park and is city-funded, which I was told that it will be this year, out of the $35,000 with some clarification on how we can use those funds, but that will be funded this year out of our funding. And then in subsequent years, it's always, you don't know, because it could be put in the budget and then it could be taken out of the budget. But at least we could get parks to help out with logistics and the stage and any other supports in-house. But in the meantime, I was trying to figure out if we're having an event in LIPE, under parks funded, do we need an additional insurance rider or any other permits? So I think if we're saying this is a parks event, then I'm assuming, Ann, correct me if I'm wrong, we wouldn't need those additional insurance coverages.
Not if it's a parks event, no.
Okay. So that's good.
That's great.
And then we're still working on, I believe Ruthnie said she was looking with law on the temporary definition because, number one, it's not in our ordinance. And number two, we don't have a consistent practice of how we oversee the permission of temporary public art, and it's led to some issues. So in order to better help and be more transparent to artists, I've asked that we have a definition of temporary, and then, what is the protocol to make it an equitable practice across the city. Does that make sense with everybody? And then the third one, and I think, so essentially this doesn't have to look this way, but I find that every meeting we're sort of like, where are we at? What are we doing? We're not really tracking from meeting to meeting. And this is something actually Commissioner Byrd suggested to us, that we create action items after our meetings, a list of action items, so that the next meeting we can all see, where are we at? How have we gotten so far? What's our progress? So this is just like a brief format that I came up with. If you guys have any other suggestions, please feel free to send it to us. I just want to make sure that we're accomplishing goals. Like, that's the whole thing here.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So, for instance, like with the action item, number 1 with the definition, there's nothing under outcome. So does that mean like we're still working on that?
Yeah, in progress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they all say, but this says in progress, but it has an outcome.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that means so if there's no outcome, it's like TBD, we're still working on it, right?
I mean, that would be an and question.
If there's nothing that says outcome, like on the action items or whatever, does that mean you're still working on it?
Yeah, you can decide how you want it formatted, though. Like,
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm sorry. I should have said that better. I wasn't necessarily asking about the format, more so about like, so if you look at action item number 1, the definition of temporary art, the status says in progress, but there's nothing listed under outcome. Am I to assume that that means we're still working on it?
Yeah, I was unclear. I got mixed messages. I didn't understand that we were going to take it to get a definition from legal. I thought that the commission were going to decide amongst themselves and get a consensus.
Okay, no worries.
So if you want it taken up this chain, then I can do that.
Okay. Probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that at the last meeting, like Ruthnie had mentioned, you was going to go to legal to look at our ordinance and like temporary to see how to incorporate that into the application. Because we would need, if we were going to review temporary art, we would need to include that into our applications in some capacity.
You need to ask Rusty that question then, right?
Well, yes,
Okay.
but it wasn't, yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So at the
Sorry.
last, this is Ruthnie. I don't know if everybody
I'm
knows.
talking about you like you're not even here. I'm Maggie. It's nice to see you. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I didn't introduce
I'm like,
myself.
Ruthnie.
Hi, Ruthnie Ungaron, Office of Communications.
So at the last meeting, we were talking about updating the application for public art on the city's portal. And part of it was that we have an inconsistent practice of how we approve temporary public art. So we don't have it in our ordinance to review temporary public art. It's not written in there.
Okay.
But some stuff comes through here and some stuff does not.
That's right, I remember that.
And so I was asking for a definition of temporary and then to include that in our application so that people have a transparent and clear understanding of what needs to come through us. And if it doesn't, then that's fine, but then what is the process? Like if it's not through us, do they just go to parks or do they go to DPW or, what is that process? And I'm not saying either is the better of the two.
You need a definitive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
We'll follow up on that tonight.
And then I think the third item on here, and there's probably more action items. I honestly just threw these together as an example because off the top of my head of what I could remember. And we had talked about marketing materials for the public forum. And I know, Anne, you had sent me a couple versions of a flyer, I don't know, it was like a month or two ago, I can't even remember. And we had talked about using that possibly to market for the public forum. And then it sort of just kind of fell off the radar. So I'm not sure if you resolved that marketing image or if okay.
I did one, and then I was waiting for you guys to have input and then decide what we were going to make the public meeting look like, and then add the information that was appropriate. So that's as far as it got.
question, sorry.
Go for it.
So, so that, is action item 2, is that resolved? Is that all of your questions that we had regarding that, have they been answered?
Yes, if it is an event hosted by Parks, we do not cover insurance. If it is not hosted by Parks, we do have to cover
So we can
insurance.
eliminate this off
That's
our
been
list, we are good.
solved, yes.
Okay, sorry, thank you. And so for this one, we're still toying around with action item number 3, as far as what the public forum is gonna look like and the next steps, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
So I guess for everyone here, what does everybody think about, should we have our public input meeting, which would include this mission and vision statement that we're working on tonight, as well as some other structured feedback in this forum? Should we have this in February at a special meeting? Or should we do this in March at our regular meeting and give ourselves a little bit more time to prepare? What does everybody think?
Well, I guess I think it would depend on the nature of the event, right? I mean, are we looking to have a forum that's structured more like this? Do we want it to be something a little bit more large scale? Do you want it to be more interactive? Do you want, you know what I mean? I guess it would depend on what our preferences are. I mean, if we needed to, I could probably throw something together in the next couple weeks. That should be fine. But if you wanted something a little bit larger, where there's like maybe an additional space necessary, or different support systems required. I mean, it kind of depends on what we want to do.
Blondine, what do you think?
March.
Savannah?
Seeing as we don't have a good attendance to our even regularly scheduled meetings, a special session probably won't generate public input. So probably should keep it our regular.
Do you think February or March?
March is our regular, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, right, I got you.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
That would give us more
March,
time.
because, if we do a special session, we can't even get all of us to show up sometimes.
Yeah.
People get sick, people get flu,
Okay.
everything.
Right.
Sophia?
I agree, March, also for the sake of having more time to prep.
Manuel? March? Okay. And you're with March, right?
I'm down for whatever. I think that, to Devanna's point, I think March is a good idea, and because it will give us an opportunity to get the word out there, and because I think that's one of the things that we had discussed is the purpose of this forum, right, is to educate the public and let them know that we even exist. So March will give us a little bit more time to do that, and also think about, if there's anyone that we'd like to come and speak on our behalf, if, maybe if someone from the mayor's office could come, if that was something, because I know we had kicked that around a little bit, if there was other representation that was interested in joining with us. So, yeah, I think March.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll take February perhaps to structure it, plan it out. In the meantime, we could start advertising for our regularly scheduled meeting in March. And definitely start developing like an email template to send out to arts organizations. We have our artist registry that we should be sending out this information to individual artists to attend. I also want to invite Ty Marshall, who was one of the originators of the Syracuse Public Art Commission. He is actually the executive director of the Homer Center for the Arts. I have reached out to him about SPAC here and there, and I know he has expressed interest in being an advisor, so he might be a good person to bring back on to sort of help us facilitate the conversations with the community. But I think, each and every one of us needs to promote this and put it out in our own network so that we have an actual, true representation of our city in this room. And, not just the few. So, go
Is
ahead.
our March session on the 11th, you said?
It's the second Tuesday, so I'm not sure.
I have a lecture that night.
One thing that I think we will want to talk about sooner rather than later is if we want media attendance there, just because like even my people over at CNY Central, their calendar books up so quickly. I don't know if that's something we need you to finalize tonight, but just something to keep into consideration that will be something we want to pull the trigger on sooner rather than later, probably before.
Ruthie, what do you think?
Well, if the session's taking the place of your public meeting,
Yeah.
we would put out a press release that you're doing a public engagement session, and it's up to them if they would come or not. So there isn't a world where we could tell them they couldn't come, because
Right.
technically
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
be in a
It's a public meeting.
public meeting.
Oh, sure, yeah. So I worked at CNY Central, and I could just be like, hey.
The only exception would be
wanna come
is
down?
if we had stuff to review, we would have to review the stuff in addition to, if it needed to go through that month.
Right.
That's the only
That's okay.
caveat, so it would be a kind of a two-pronged thing, other than
Like you have a public segment and then,
you'd have to have.
and then you're done with the public segment, then you, okay.
Then we do the forum. Well, our regular business, I guess you'd say. Which, again, if we can keep it on task and, again, I'm trying to add the times onto our agenda so that, eventually maybe I'll have a timekeeper. We're pretty good right now, but I want to keep our meetings to an hour or less to respect everybody's time. And this will help me move through it when I see the times on here. Before, it was a little confusing for me, and I don't think it really worked it wasn't the most effective way for us to run a meeting. So I'm trying this. If it does, we can shift it around. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm open to it. This is all kind of new in a way as we move into the new year. I want to start off on the right foot and actually accomplish some things. So, all right, if we're all set with those things, anybody have anything else to add or say? Any questions before we move on? No? All right, Ruthnie, you're up.
All right, so I have a simple packet and, thanks, Kofer. I have to call her by her last name because there's a lot of Anns. There's an Ann and there's like 2 Anns in my office now, plus Kofer. So I'll pass these around. Oh, okay. So you just need the packet.
Everybody have the old vision and mission statements.
Okay, so then you could just pass these around. So since you already have a draft mission and vision statement, take a moment and just put it to the side. We'll come back to it and we'll reconcile. We typically do this in a few sessions, but I think that we can consolidate these. I'm trying to consolidate ideation just for the sake of time, but I think you're really close with what you have. I think you're just trying to find a way to make your mission and vision very specific and nail it on the head. And it's a healthy thing to revisit it. Sometimes people put it on a shelf and never look at it again, but you'll need this to start thinking about real branding and marketing, which we don't do here. We don't have to do that here. It's just, when someone says, I want a website or I want a flyer, the first thing we always do is say, okay, well, what's your mission? What is your, what inspires these things? So, first things first, just want to make sure we have a clear definition of mission, which is clear statement that defines your purpose, your values, and your goals. Didn't define vision. I want to focus on your mission right now. I want you to think about, what does this body do? And as you think about that, you could just use a few phrases or terms or whatever, and you're going to fill it out in that left box. You're going to answer every question in that next left box. What do you do? Why do you do it? What do you value in the work that we do? Who are we doing it for? And how do you aspire to do it? So you're going to fill out all those questions as simple and clear as you can. And I'll give you 2 or 4 minutes to do it. And then we will go back, and then I'll ask you to start pulling out to start sharing publicly so we could pull out the key words in what you're saying, because I want to start jotting down what are the things that are coming up the most. Mm-hmm. So, the first question you might want to jot down, what does this body do? And you just want to say it as plain as you can. This isn't really the place for legalese. So you could be blunt, you could use bullets, you could hash marks. And then once you write down what you do, why do you do it? In the spirit of Tina, I'll pull out my timer.
I went a little over, I apologize.
Get out.
Thank you. I was looking to be fired.
When you're answering your why you do it, I want you to think about your personal why. So these should be introspective. When you're done, you could put your pen or pencil down.
I did it right, Ruthie.
There are no wrong answers.
I wrote in the right boxes. I was a little worried.
I can't, I couldn't, my handwriting's too big. I couldn't.
Okay.
I have a contingency for anyone who wrote in the keyword box. So you're
exactly
fine.
what I did.
Which is okay. It's okay.
I'm also illegible.
As I'm writing, I'm like, is this really that bad? This is bad.
Yeah, it's definitely chicken scratch over here.
This is not good.
Truly, though.
Could all be great
I
doctors.
write in code.
All right. Before we share, I want you to take a moment and reflect on what you wrote. For question number 1, what does this body do? Are you okay with what you wrote? For question number 2, why do you do it? Take a look at the answer to question number 1 and make sure your why is referring to question number 1. Sometimes when a person asks us why, we think broadly, but I want you to narrow the why to what you wrote in question number 1.
It's what we hope to do, right? Not what we actually do right now. Just want to clarify.
The why do you do it is the,
What does
why
this-
do you do it? There's no hope in why you do
Well, no,
it.
the first one. What does this body do?
We're not hoping yet. We want to focus on exactly
Oh,
what
what
you
we
do.
actually do.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
And it's okay. This is why you tell your friends about the person you're dating before you bring them. You're vetting your relationship with these answers. Question number 3, what do you value in the work we do? So you're gonna look at your why and your what. You're gonna look at those 2 boxes and say, of those things, what do you value in that work? And you're allowed to like jump back in and scribble.
I mean, I think I have better answers by what I hope we will be doing versus what we actually do. Because right now we're kind of just like a rubber stamp, to be honest.
We will get to
A rubber stamp.
we will get to the aspirational parts. You're ready for vision. We're still on mission.
Got it.
But hold on to those hopes. We need those. Number 4 is, who are we doing it for? Now, sometimes people will ask here, who are we doing it for now versus who are we supposed to do it for? I will take both answers. And Ruthnie, what is the it? The it is the answer in box number 1, the what. And then lastly, how do you aspire to do it? And Tina, this is where a lot of that hopefulness can come in.
Got it.
Does anyone want to share their what does this body do?
I have 2 versions of that.
Okay.
I mean, one is just a rubber stamp, and then the other one is enrich residents' lives by curating public art that reflects community values.
Pause. Keyword in that. And for your keywords, you really want to focus on emotional words or action words. So either verbs or words that have emotion tied to it. Will you repeat your what?
Enrich residents' lives by curating public art that reflects community values.
Anyone want to point out keywords to themselves in there?
Curating.
Okay. Anybody else want to share their what?
I put connecting artists with funding and potential opportunities.
Connecting?
Yep.
Would funding be an action word? I mean,
I would use a dollar sign. So I'm going to say no. It's more of a noun in my context, but I mean, you can do what you want.
Anybody else? All right.
Advocating for public art in the city.
Any big keywords there?
advocate.
Anybody else? Okay. By show of hands, how many people had the word curating in their what? How many people had the word connecting in their what? Okay, so that's 2. How many people had the word advocacy in their what? Okay, that's 2. Any big keywords that I haven't said that you wrote down that you think the body needs to hear?
I have the word education in mind. Educating.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have the word like helping artists, so like help.
And mine,
Okay.
mine would be reviewing.
All right, let's get to your whys. Anybody want to share their whys?
I will. To make sure the community has a say in city decisions. That's my why.
Mine was to perpetuate and represent the ever-evolving culture of our community.
Mine was to provide the city with culture, inspiration, hope, community, sense of belonging.
Mine is to ensure that public art is representative of the community's wants and needs.
Make the city's landscape a discussion with its citizens and among its citizens.
Anyone else?
Mine was to keep the arts alive.
All right, next question. What do you value in the work that we do?
I put illumination, perspective, and representation.
Anyone else?
I wrote to uplift others, community, and artists.
Mine is kind of reflecting why I do it, and it's the cultivation of a sense of belonging. You're walking around the city of Syracuse and you see public art, and you're like, this is my home. Where I live.
Connection on this.
Yeah.
Mine is similar. It's creating a beautiful and enjoyable urban experience. So along those lines.
Did you say creating or curating?
Creating.
Creating. Anybody else? Who are we doing it for?
Mine's a little direct, but I have three groups. One is my neighbors, the next is my family, who live in the city of Syracuse, and the last is myself, because I live in the city of Syracuse. I'd like to live in the city.
I said residents of all demographics within the city, as well as local artists.
Anyone else?
I said future generations.
Does that cover everybody?
I just said for the citizens of Syracuse, but I think that's
Since residents, community, I see like that repeating. And lastly, how do you aspire to do it?
With excellence. God help us.
I expect nothing less.
With excellence, with care, and with empathy.
I said by supporting both emerging and established artists to create opportunities within city programming to pay local artists and to find money to create opportunities for artists, as we are the problem solvers.
Mine was essentially the same thing, participating. I just kind of used buzzwords myself, participating, creating, attending, supporting.
Centering equitable access. Also patience, curiosity, and openness.
Okay, now, here's the deceit. I did. So I want you to grab a highlighter.
Nothing that we're doing, so I'm going to pray about this for a minute, okay?
And I want you to go back and highlight all those keywords and emotional words. I'm sorry, hold on, let me make sure I'm giving you the right direction. Sorry, I want you to circle all of your keywords And underline all your emotional words. So let's just circle first. We'll take it up.
Circle keywords.
Yep, circle keywords. Circle those action words. Circle those words that are absolutely essential to the work. So we're just circling for now. And I'll give you a minute to circle without
All right,
the Jeopardy music.
I couldn't walk and listen at the same time. Sorry. I was more focused on getting. So you want me to circle?
So I want you to
keywords?
circle all of the keywords, action words or words that are essential to the work that we're doing. You're just circling away. There's a fire burning. I figured I would give you like background
appreciate that.
music. All right, now you are underlining all emotional words. Ruthnie, can emotional words be keywords? Yes. So you are underlining all emotional words.
Mind your own business. I'm
Are
gonna
y'all
put a folder up. I'm looking over here.
How do you cheat on like
No, she stays-
inspiration?
she stays- Leave me alone.
The reason I've asked you
How
to
do
do
you
that.
cheat on inspiration? It's my whole career.
By Maggie.
The reason I've
Loveless.
asked you to do that is because question 1 deals with your mission. Question 2 deals with your vision. Question 4 deals with your mission. Question 5 deals with your vision.
Right.
So rather than trying to get you to think like, I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about, just put it all out there and then we go back later and get that information. Question number 3, it's really important to pull out your values. Sometimes vision statements are really long because you're trying to put all of the things you care about in there. There's a world where you could just have a beautiful board that says, boom, these are our pillars, or these are our values. This is what we value. We value equity, we value this, we value citizen engaged, and yada, yada. So we can come back and get those later. You guys already answered that question with value type words, like you started putting those out there. All right, so we're gonna step away from this for a second. You're gonna flip the page. You gave me, this page is gonna get you thinking about your audience before we go back and revisit your statements. You gave me a set of audiences for your audience. You named, don't write down anything yet, you named neighbors, family, self, residents/citizens, local artists, and future generations. What I'd like to do is ask you, how can we lump these groups together? So just like we lumped residents and citizens together, I think that we can lump neighbors, residents, and citizens together because you're essentially talking about everyone's a neighbor.
Right.
So I'm gonna put those together as one group. We're not gonna write anything down yet. A second group is you have family left, self left, local artists left, and future generations left. Do you feel like there's anything we can group within the remaining 4? If the answer is no, that's fine. But if the answer is yes, I'd like to try to group them together.
Get me out of my self group.
Okay, so we can do artist and self, and if you, I'm a poet, so while you do visual, I do written. If you really want to get deep, you know, everyone has an artist inside of them. So let's lump.
Doing it for the artist inside everyone.
So let's lump self and local artists together, and then we have a third group called family. Is there any reason we don't want to lump family in with neighbors, citizens, and residents?
You haven't met my family. Just kidding. Just joking. No, they can be put together.
Okay, so we're gonna pull family into that. So now we have 3 distinct groups. Family/neighbors/residents/citizens. I'm gonna just call them everybody. Second group is artist/self, and third group is future generations. Of those 3 groups, which is the group that already engages with you? you already touched these people, you already talked to these people, you would consider them your most critical audience member. Okay, so under group A, let's go ahead and put artists/self. I will never forget the self in there. Thank you. Thank you, Dana.
Leave it to me to make it selfish.
All right, let's look at secondary groups that we think are critical. You engage with them already. Is it future generations or is it neighbors, citizens, resident families?
Community, yeah.
Community, okay, so we'll call this just the community group. And then the third group is future generations. The people who are artists, we don't have to do this one by one. I just want you to talk out loud. We'll just do this as group work. For the people who are artists, what are their interests?
Creative opportunities.
Opportunities. Okay, what else?
Funding.
Funding. You know these people, so come on.
I am one of them.
Self.
Yeah, self.
So opportunities, funding, anything else?
Exposure.
Exposure.
Opportunity.
Yeah, I guess.
Growth.
Yeah.
Professional.
I'll put growth.
Yeah.
I'll put no. United States is calling me, they can wait. What do they believe in, artists?
Oh, God.
Go back and look at your value words and pull from there if it helps.
I'm pulling out representation, perspective, illumination.
Where do they interact with you?
Or social.
Okay.
Have our website yet. We don't have email. We have email marketing, a tiny bit, email list.
Social and digital.
Not wonderful, but yeah.
And you've got personal Facebook
pers-
pages where you
Yeah.
post things. How do they behave? I'm looking for positive, negative, neutral, defensive, inquisitive.
It's very mixed.
Yeah.
And who else interacts with a group like this?
Audiences?
What other institution interacts with a group like this? It could be local institution like Erie Canal Museum, or you could tell me the Smithsonian. But who interacts with a group like this very well?
My arts.
Okay.
Everson? Or
Everson.
Everson? Community Folk Arts Center.
Feedback, okay. I want you to take 2 minutes and pick a group, either community or future generations. Don't pick both, because I don't think you have time. And I want you to answer those questions in your box. So when I grab your paper, I'll have it all. But I want you to answer those same questions for community group B and future generations group C. Their interests, what they believe in, where do they interact with you, how do they behave, and who else interacts with a group like this very well. Let me throw my very well in there. This is an open book test, an open Google test.
She's like, get your phone out. Get you, no, you can't. Leave me alone.
I need spell check.
It makes you feel better. I named my AI co-pilot. I'm so ashamed.
What?
What did you name
What'd
it?
you name it?
Actually, he picked his own name, which is a little
That's
scary.
terrifying. That's terrifying.
An AI co-pilot.
Oh, well, I'm off topic. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll wait till we adjourn.
So yes, I've gone beyond Googling. I now just ask Von Keith what he would. He picked it, so.
Von Keith?
I picked voice number 3, and I said, I'm not going to call you co-pilot. You need to give me a name. And he said, what kind of name? I gave a description, and he rattled off some suggestions, and I picked one. And now whenever I open that app, I can say, hey, Von Keith, and he responds back like a regular conversation. So yeah, I've leveled up my Googling skills. All right, I'll give you another 30 seconds. You're only picking one of these groups. Remember, you don't have to do both. I'd rather you put your energy into one and trust your fellow board members to cover you on the other. What are you struggling
When I
with
tell
over
you,
there,
when
Savannah?
they're asking how does the community behave, and I'm like,
Unwell.
I guess it determines the day and the time.
It's a great example. We went big, and now we're taking it down the funnel. Do they consume it? Do they ask for it? Do they graffiti it? Do they love being around it? You could put that. You could say they appreciate it, like respond to it positively.
Appreciation, yeah.
We can all go by the trolls online, but
That's 1 or 2 or 3.
yeah, and they do it like it's their job.
It might be. It's 2025. While you're writing, the reason I want to focus on audience for a moment before we go back to the statements is because you're trying to use your mission and your vision to reach people. Not like you're going to walk around like having these soliloquies where you just stand in the street and recite them. But if your mission and vision is evident in your flyers, in your website, in your videos, in your help guides, in your press releases and news interviews, you want to ensure that it's reaching the group that you want to reach with them in mind. So if you say that the artist group is interested in opportunities, funding, and growth, then we know that when we're talking to for the artists on their tab on your website, we should be focused on using language that affirms opportunities, funding, and growth. And then it's intentional. And then you affirm that in the social posts that you put out for, calls for artists. You make sure you're using that language when you're doing interviews about this is why you should participate in City as Canvas. That way the people on the other end that you've already identified are the audience you want to talk to and that you value, they're getting those words from you, even if they're not getting it exactly. You're not standing in an interview with News Channel 9 saying, well, our vision is, but because it's now embedded in everything that you're thinking and writing, then when you take that interview, that artist is sitting at home going, man, this seems like a really good growth opportunity for me. They seem like they really care about sharing funding opportunities and helping artists be exposed, because everything becomes intentional from here. So I really like people to think about their audiences when they're writing this, because sometimes groups can write this for themselves, which isn't wrong, but if the work is for someone else, you want to think about them when you're writing. I did this with a group of students who had a project the city had a grant for 1 year. And when I do this with departments, it takes like 5 to 6 weeks. And the students, of course, they flew through it in 2 weeks and put all the adults to shame. And they built such a beautifully colorful brand that I was like, this doesn't even look like a government brand. And they're like, oh, we're sorry. I was like, no, you're building a brand for kids. You're talking about financial literacy for kids and for future generations. I couldn't build this brand because I'm not a teenager. So because they are the audience that they were reaching out to, which is a sense where it can be good, they designed something that I couldn't design. They could speak to a group of people that I couldn't speak to. And we don't use that brand as much as we like, but it's one of my favorite brands that I saw a group of people pull together. They pulled together their social accounts and their assets, and their grant funded them to do all this work. And they really enjoyed it. Like, you wouldn't even know they were getting paid for it. They had fun. And it was a good reminder for me that if the audience is you, then it's okay to write this for you. But if the audience isn't you, then it's harder. You gotta think about that community group and that future generation group. Because I think sometimes audiences can tell when they're not being thought about in communications and in documents. They're like, oh, this isn't for me. So that's what that means. All right, so if you're done with this is what I want you to do. I want you to now pull out your I want you to pull out your mission vision statement as it is. And if you can you write your name in the corner of your mission vision and on your worksheet? So when I compile all of this, I'm not grading it, but I just want to know who said what. So look at you're going to make 3 columns at the bottom of your mission vision statement. Column A is for, what did we call this group? Artist/self. Column B is for community. And column C is for future generations. I want you to look at the keywords in question 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Which I want you to start placing those keywords in a category. Is this a keyword for artist and self? Is this a keyword for community? Or is this a keyword for future generations?
Can we put them in all 3?
Yes. Yes, you can put them in all 3. If you can put them in all 3, that's a sign that that's a very strong keyword. All right, now you're gonna make a line and give yourself some room at the bottom. It's okay. You have space. You have space, yeah. You got space. peeking, but I could tell you have
I'm
space.
gonna work on the other side.
That works too. I want you to. I snuck her the worksheets in advance. I want you to do the same thing with questions number 2 and 5. I want you to look at your keywords in questions 2 and 5, and I want you to decide if they're artist keywords, community keywords, or future generation keywords. Oh, good. No, that's good. That's good.
I'm both.
Good, good. No, that's okay. That's okay. That means you guys are jumping to the point. You don't have too much words to deal with, which is good.
I got all the same words, I'm sorry.
Good. That's a good thing. I'm used to like 30 hands in the pot on a Zoom video doing this, not 6 or 10. So this is good.
By the way, great job. I'm so excited for this. Thank you.
I'm glad that you all are
It's
having
exactly what we needed
fun
to
and
do.
cracking jokes.
No, we
That
needed
this is-
a facilitator. This
Thank you for hanging out with me on a Tuesday night. You wild and crazy kids. Right, now, look at your mission statement on your sheet. You are going to circle what you believe are the key words in the mission statement. And to help everyone here, let's do it out loud so that everybody is circling the same word. So let's look at the first line. The mission of the City of Syracuse's public art program is to enrich the lives of every, I'll just do the whole thing, resident through the careful curation and installation of artworks in public spaces that are reflective of who we are and what we value as a community. So what do we think are the key words as they exist right now in your mission statement? Enrich, okay, we're circling that.
Every resident? Or is that not?
You could, okay,
Audience related?
yeah, I like it. We could circle it. We've got another important word in there, careful curation. Even put that helping. Somebody else said something, I'm sorry if I missed it. We're focusing on action words, not the emotional words yet. So let's focus on the action words. So enrich. Resident is an audience, but let's keep it.
Installation.
Installation. Okay, value. Let's go back and underline the emotional words here. You said it earlier, reflective. That's an introspective word or an emotional word. Any other emotional words in this mission statement? Not many.
I don't know about the word necessarily, but the phrasing feels emotional. The lives of every resident, that feels emotionally charged.
I agree.
And like who we are feels like.
It also feels emotionally
Yeah,
charged.
that's not like.
Okay, let's underline who we are.
Yeah.
And let's underline lives of every resident. Lastly, is there anything in the mission statement that seems redundant?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now look at your top row. Those are your mission words. Are there any mission words in your top row that you want to play with? And this is playing. You want to throw up in there or swap in and out of there. There's no right or wrong. This is just playing.
I think one of the things that all of us touched on in some capacity was funding, and it doesn't seem like there's any mention of like the connection with artists with funding opportunities.
The artists are missing in this.
Right, I don't see the artists being
I'm
reflected.
so excited. Okay, so funding.
And maybe we don't have to say funding. We can say opportunity, because opportunity is the
That was like next month's lesson, but
combine the two.
no, it was to take your key terms and find out what are your every business and brand has industry language for their key terms. They have branded language for their key terms. And then they have regular nomenclature for their key terms. A great example is Starbucks. How many of you walk in and ask for a 16-ounce coffee with, you know, the industry calls it a 16-ounce cup of coffee, but regular people call it, give me a medium cup. Is that a medium? I don't even, but give me a medium cup of coffee, right? That's what regular people call it. But Starbucks, they will serve everybody, but they're going after, like, the people in their categories. The first person in that column is people who subscribe to the things that they value. So what do they call it? They call it grande. Yeah, they don't call it a 16-ounce cup of coffee. People who, like me, who used to call it give me a large, now go, give me a chai tea latte with almond milk, 2 pumps of coconut honey syrup, grande. Right, but I learned their language because I started identifying with their values and their culture and their brand. So if the thing is funding, if that's the regular people word for it, the industry language is grants, whatever, bids, whatever. But if the regular language is funding, maybe you don't want to say funding because that it falls flat of what you believe in and what you value. So if you value growth, then you'll say opportunities. You'll say, you'll find your own language to replace funding with.
And opportunities means multiple things to multiple
Yes.
people, so they can see themselves in the opportunity. And we do provide we hope to provide multiple opportunities. But yeah, the artists are completely out of it.
Okay. Anything else any other keywords you found that are missing from the mission statement that are on your page that you just really love? That you're like, oh man, it's not in here. It didn't make it.
Well, representation sounds like something that we all kind of touched on as well, and I see it's like reflective of who we are and who we value as a community, but I don't know. Reflective feels to me like a picture, whereas representation feels like a little bit more authentic.
Easily trade out that word for representative.
Representative. Because again, I'm going to give you a page of just values. So you can get to things like that in your value statement. You don't have to try to get it all in your mission statement. And reflective is actually an aspirational word, which I recommend you move to your vision. Your mission is what you do. So your mission can't be, I'm going to empower drivers to find freedom. Like, no, that's you're a car salesman, that's your vision. Like, what you do is you sell automobiles.
Right. All right.
I tried to find the poetry in it. Okay, let's jump to vision, and I want you to go find you already found the aspirational words in vision. Are there any aspirational words from your list that did not make it into the cut for vision statement? And I'll read it out loud for anyone viewing on YouTube. Our vision is to develop a growing public art collection that embraces new art and expression, places the local community in the larger context of American life, and brings beauty and meaning to everyday places. Yeah, because where are we?
We have a diverse community. People from different places. I have the word culture in my community box. And maybe we don't say culture, but
But I get what you're
But,
saying.
yeah.
It's a word that we could swap out.
yeah.
Any other words any other key words from questions 2 and 5 that are on your page that are not in your vision statement? Like, I want to know what those words are.
Inspiration.
Equity.
Access is kind of implied in opportunity, but access.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
I want you to take a minute and look at your vision statement and just jump in there. Swap out words, play with it. What I'm volunteering Kofor for with me is we'll compile these into a Mentimeter. I'll tell you what that is. We'll compile these into, like, it's like a online PowerPoint, but we'll compile these into a Mentimeter as they're playing with it, so that they could see what each other is saying, what each other's doing.
I just hate the phrase places the local community in the larger context of American life. It almost feels as if we're saying we're not already part of the larger, like we've got to put us there, you know,
Well, and to
like
that
we're
same
not there
point-
yet.
To that same
That's
point, I
silly.
also kind of take issue with the second part of that, brings beauty and meaning to everyday places. Like, there's beauty and meaning to the places I live already. Like, you
So,
know what I mean? So
write
like,
that down.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, and I don't mean to be salty about it. It's
Yeah.
just that.
Now that you're reflecting on it, now that you've had a moment to swim in
Right.
your feelings, you're revisiting the statement and saying, we can improve this. Instead of bring beauty and meaning to everyday places, maybe the
Exemplify or
Enhance or-
enhance
yeah.
or contribute beauty. Maybe that's
I mean, one of your I don't remember who here said it during their value words. They said create a beautiful urban, you know, and I think there's room for that there. I think that is more reflective of how this group is feeling about where you want to go.
Or celebrate. What about what we
I
gotta
like
celebrate?
that. Celebrate.
Celebrate the culture and the beauty and meaning in everyday spaces. Public art can
You're writing this down, right, Savannah?
do that. No,
I'm
this is
listening.
recorded.
Yes, we are
I'm
recording.
gonna write celebrate down. Okay.
But yeah, and again, that's why I said I want you to play with the statements based off of what's on your page.
Although I will say about the recording, quite often there's whole sections that you can't hear that people say.
Oh, good.
Let me pull this
The
closer.
microphones.
Where are we on time? Okay. So first of all, I want to celebrate that in less than an hour, you have identified keywords that will make its way into your mission and vision. You've identified your key audiences, and you've revisited your mission statement and your vision statement to begin to edit it to reflect how you feel, things that you guys agree on, and where you want to go. So I'm going to take all of this, pull it together, and put it in one document so you could see it comprehensively.
Awesome.
But I like that you all just played with it first. You're not putting yourself on this ridiculous consequential deadline of we must get a mission vision statement right for a corporate entity in 1 hour. Like,
And there's one thing, and I'm not against the word curation,
Yeah, but it's
belabored.
just so,
but it's so heavy.
yeah.
And there's this notion of us as this group of like people who are like, we determine what the art is.
It's almost like an elitist
and,
thing.
Yeah, and-
Connotation.
and I would be in favor of removing that
Yeah.
so
word because I mean, if I really think about what we aspire this group to be, is more of an engine that helps the community curate, helps the community generate, helps, whereas we're not, and we're not the final say. I mean,
You partner
we
with the
partner,
community.
yeah. But by the time a project gets to us, it's gone through channels we've created in the community to be done. So that's kind of why we sometimes feel like a rubber stamp, because honestly, by the time something gets to us, it should have went through
That stuff
the
already.
community and the structure.
For what though? For what kind of projects do you mean? Because most of the stuff we see is private entities commissioning artists. That
But
doesn't
that-
come through us though.
But the private entity is a community member, and they have to get community approval. through
They
the
don't,
letters.
I mean, they do, but they don't really. It's nice to have that support.
You could thank Devana for your homework. No, seriously. On page 3, there's a second section. Don't worry about identifying your services. There's a second section. Ignore the first bullet. We already did it. The second bullet says highlight all the words that you think may mean something different to your audience. Instead of highlighting, take a moment and just jot down for me words that exist already in here that you just want to say, hey, watch out, because I think these words have a certain meaning to artists, to future generations, or even to neighbors. And a recommendation that I'm going to make to you all, a marketing recommendation, is the word community is overused. I really like that you refer to them as neighbors. It brings people in. I can't remember which one of you said neighbors, but it brings people in, and I think it reflects when you said, citizens and residents are the same. You were thinking about community. I think neighbors makes people feel like you're right here versus the community. Neighbors makes people feel like you're thinking about them in a consequential way. So language like residents and neighbors is more affirming than language like citizens or community, because that feels so broad in general. I think there's like a term in here about American life.
Citizens very much tied to that.
Yeah.
American life. We have people here who aren't citizens, live in our
Right.
area. No, I just mean that in terms of like
The world.
the world. We're curating
Citizens
for
of the world.
Citizens of the world. What we hope and aspire for this group to be is more of a community vision. And with our position now in parks, which has some grounding in the community, and some of the projects that Anne's been working on in parks, doing community art projects, even the snow works and the leaf works, like all of those things feed into that engine. So I think curation is really not what we do.
I think it's a great discussion point, and you should put it. I mean, you guys are clearly talking about it. Put it on that page 3. And any other words that you think we should just be mindful of, especially when you're thinking about the future generations column, be mindful of what words mean to them as well.
And even if there is a certain amount of the idea of curation, you get way high-minded about it, but we don't want people to think that we're making value judgments on their art, placing imposing our will on the community as a body. Curation really
Well, with that note, please put your names on your papers and pass them back down. Pass them to your left.
We don't have a class helper to pick up the papers.
I'm the class helper.
Where's our representation?
Yes,
Well,
I
and
probably
he's still
got a
writing for
6.
me.
You get 100 just for putting your name on the page.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I want to trick my students with that one time. Like, the first direction, put your name on the paper, hand it in,
Wait, that's my red one.
and then put random questions and see.
Someone who has done that to her students, they will be so upset.
When you came in with the pens, I was like, this is
Are we all done writing?
She knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing.
Ruthie, are we all done writing,
These are mine.
or no?
Yes, you are done with, where's my agenda? I just had it. I now turn you back over to the commissioner.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Rusney,
much.
for taking the time to be here.
Yes,
and doing
thank you,
that.
thank you.
It was amazing.
I'll call back the United States of America now.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't, I'd let that one go.
They need you in DC.
So without, we have nothing else to look over. We can motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Demand a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor? All right. Adios.
You guys did really well.
Thank you. We really needed that. If we had just sat down and been like, let's write a mission statement, we